Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. I want to start by saying, hopefully you guys had a good Mother's Day. Got to hang out with family, especially with mom. Hopefully you got mom some good gifts, okay? Now, for today's assignment, synthetic division. It is a topic that we have not covered, but everything that we learned since we began online school is going to help you with synthetic division. Now, what is synthetic division? Synthetic division is pretty much whenever you divide a polynomial by a monomial. What I mean by that, say for example, this is going to be example 1, and we're going to get started on it shortly. X cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 6, and all that is being divided by x minus 3. This right here, of course, is your polynomial. This is your monomial. Your job is to find the other monomial. Whenever you multiply both, you're going to get this. So, synthetic division. The vocabulary that I've been teaching you guys is going to help out big because you need to know what coefficient is by this point, because that's how you're going to begin with synthetic division. Now, when dividing, make sure you put out your L. I call it an L, right? Because it's going to tell me it's division. Now, from this polynomial, go ahead and name me all the coefficients. So you can go ahead and pause the video if you prefer and start saying them out loud or write them out. This coefficient is 1 because there's nothing written right there, right? The next coefficient from this one should be what, guys? That's right, -2. The next one, -5. And last but not least, 6. Sorry if that's crooked. Now, all this is going to help you, of course, is going to help you with the division. The number that goes on the outside, you're going to say, oh, mister, it has to be -3. Half correct, but still wrong. You always get the opposite of the number that's in here. Or solve for x. For example, x minus 3 equals 0. So you want to have x by itself. What's the opposite of -3? +3. Cancels, x equals 3. And that 3 goes right here. Always do this, especially if you have a coefficient that is bigger than 1 by x. Now, let's begin. First one, you drop it straight down. I'm going to put a 1. 3 times 1, that is 3. Remember, I multiply, that's how I got that. And from here, you're going to add. -2 plus 3. 3 is bigger than -2. That means my remainder is 1. And then we begin again. 3 times 1, that's 3. -5 plus 3, -5. That's like saying you owe someone $5. You give them 3. That means you still owe them 2. Now, last part. 3 times -2, well, that's -6. Then 6 minus 6 is 0. This is the important one. If you have 0 as a remainder, that means it is a factor. It is good. It is set to go. So your question is going to be, mister, what's all this? Is that my answer? It is. It's going to help you. Your answer now goes back over here. This exponent is to the third. This is to the 1. We're going to subtract it from each one. So here we go. Cubed. This becomes, I'm going to use that coefficient, 1x squared. Next one, x2 or x squared minus x. That means it's just plus 1x. And then x minus x, well, that's 0. So it's going to be -2. And remember how I said that remainder is 0? You don't use it. This is your answer. Synthetic division. Confusing? Maybe. But you just have to try it. Work it out. Got to do as many examples. And of course, always reach out to us if we don't understand. Don't worry, guys. I will give you guys more examples. So go ahead, pause the video if you prefer. Copy this down, and let's begin. So, example problem number 2. I'm going to go ahead and hold this. The little board is shaky. So here we go. Example 2. We have x cubed plus 5x squared plus 7x plus 2, and is being divided by x plus 2. So, first thing, let's write out all our coefficients, right? So let me draw out. Coefficient for the first one is 1. Next one is 5. Next one is 7. Last but not least, 2. And remember, the number goes outside. You can always say the opposite, but don't get used to it because you might have a coefficient there. So let's say x plus 2 equals 0. You want to have x by itself. How do you get rid of a plus 2? Minus 2. This cancels. X equals 0. So that means negative 2 goes right here. And let's begin our multiplication, right? So I'm going to drop down the 1. This becomes 1 right here. Negative 2 times 1, that is negative 2. Then we're going to add them. 5 plus negative 2 is just like saying you have $5, you spend $2, that means you got 3 left. And then we begin. Negative 2 times 3, well, that's negative 6. 7 plus negative 6 is like saying you have $7, you spend 6, that means you have $1 left. Negative 2 times 1, that is negative 2. 2 minus 2, well, that's 0. That means it is a factor. That means this right here, actually this right here, I don't know why I put 0. There should be negative 2. My apologies. That means negative 2 is a 0. And it is a factor. Listen to the vocabulary because you're going to have about 4 questions that are going to ask you about this. So make sure you're listening to my vocabulary. And now let's put our answer together. The highest one that I have is cubed. So cubed minus x, that means it's going to be, I'm going to use the 1 as my coefficient, x squared. Next one, squared minus 1. Well, that's just going to be plus, my coefficient is 3, 3x. Last but not least, x minus x, they go away. All I have left is plus 1, and since my remainder is 0, you are golden. That's your answer. Now, a question you might get asked is saying, Mister, what if your remainder isn't 0? What do I do? And that's a good question because that's going to be answered with the following question. I believe it should be the following question, but let's check it out. Let's go to example problem 3. Go ahead, hold the board. On example problem number 3, you have 3x squared plus 7x minus 20, and all that is being divided by x plus 5. Ooh, let's see if this is a big problem. So first thing, let's start writing out our coefficients. I'm going to draw out my division, and let's begin. First, leading coefficient is 3. Next one is 7, and then minus 20, big number. It's all right, we can do some calculations. And then let's get the number we're going to divide into each one. So it's going to be x plus 5 equals 0. Let's go ahead and solve for x. Opposite of plus 5, minus 5. This cancels. X equals negative 5. That means negative 5 goes right here. And now we begin. You drop the first one, and we begin. Negative 5 times 3, well, that's negative 15. Then, of course, look at the numbers. The negative is bigger, right? So, you owe someone $15. You give them 7. How much you still owe them? You owe them $8. And then here we go. Next one. Negative 5 times negative 8. 2 negatives give you a positive. 5 times 8 is 40. And then negative 20 plus 40 is just like saying you have $40. You spend 20. That means you have 20 left. And that is your remainder. That tells me since it's not 0, this is not a factor. It is not a factor. So now let's set up how our actual answer is supposed to look. So, first thing, let's begin. X squared, X. 2 minus 1, that's 1. So that means it's going to be 3X. X minus X, that's 0. So it's going to be minus 8. And then that 20. You only do this whenever your remainder is not 0. Since the 20 is positive, I'm going to put plus 20. But since it's not a factor, you're going to divide that by the one that they give you. X plus 5. Don't get scared, guys. You don't have to do nothing to that. Box it, and you're done. And you are going to get questions like that on the second assignment for the week. So be careful on what it tells you. Is it a remainder of 0? No. Is it a factor? No, it is not. So whenever it's not 0, not a factor. So be careful with that. And then let's jump into example problem number 4, and that's going to wrap it up for today. By the way, guys, I want to know what y'all got y'all's mothers for Mother's Day, so make sure you comment on the video. I want to see how you guys are. Also, do constant updates, guys. I want to make sure you guys are okay and not doing anything you're not supposed to. You know who you are, guys. M squared minus 7m. And yes, by the way, I missed talking to you guys. It's always fun because you guys are always up to something. I always tell y'all shame. So, here we go. First thing, start off by the coefficients. So we're going to have our coefficient for the first one. It doesn't have one in the beginning, so it's going to be 1. Second one, -7. Last but not least, -11. Bunch of negatives. I know y'all hate negatives, but that's why we have them. And then we have m minus 8, so we set it up. So for m in this case, how do you get rid of a -8? Opposite is plus 8. M equals 8. So 8 goes right here. And let's solve the problem. First thing, you drop it down. 8 times 1, well, that's 8. -7 plus 8 is just like saying you have $8. You spent 7, that means you have $1 left. 8 times 1, that's 8. Then -11 plus 8, I believe that is -3. You owe someone $11, you give them 8, you still owe them 3. Is this a factor? No, because it is not a 0. So let's write out how our answer is going to be. And here we go. M squared. Squared minus 1, well, that's just 1. So there's going to be 1m. M minus m, 0. So they cancel. So there's going to be plus 1. And then you have the -3. Since that is the remainder, I'm going to put -3. And all that is being divided by m minus 8. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your answer. Hopefully this is not a confusing assignment, but you guys should already know. Reach out to us. A simple message on either Microsoft Teams, the Hub, or even an email. Please message us if you need help or anything you need. With that being said, guys, that wraps up today's assignment. Hopefully you guys had a good week. Here's to another week. We're close. We're close. No worries. With that being said, go ahead and like and subscribe. Have a good day, guys. Bye.